As was announced on Friday, public hearing was requested on House Bill 4140, transferring of certain powers and programs of the West Virginia Affordable Housing Trust Fund to the West Virginia Housing Development Fund. Going to allow 5 minutes per speaker, no more than. There will be, as far as our rules here, no shouting, applauding, or signage. The speaking time cannot be passed to another person. And as soon as your light shows, I'll ask you to stop speaking. But there won't be any questions from the audience, and it'll just be the presenters. And should there be anybody else desiring to speak, please let us know. But right now, I'll go in order of those that have signed up, and we'll start with Nikki Thomas. Ms. Thomas, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, my name is Nikki Thomas, and I'm the Advancement Director of Golden Girl Group Home. For over 34 years, we've served and housed abused and neglected girls. I am for this bill to streamline government and to be supportive of the West Virginia Housing Development Fund. We have had a relationship with the Housing Development Fund for the past almost decade, and they are easy to work with, they're supportive, and they have literally helped me build 6 projects, renovate 2 houses, and build an entire apartment complex for abused and neglected, abandoned girls all over the state of West Virginia. I am for the efficiency of government. I am for this bill. I'm for West Virginia Housing Development Fund because they have been our partner for over a decade. Not only have they become friends, but they have supported every single project that we have done. Worthy projects to help girls get off the street, get self-employed, and get empowered. Without that, it would not have been possible. I was homeless on the streets of Boston at the age of 16, and I know the importance of developing for youth. The West Virginia Housing Development Fund made sure that each and every one of my projects got done with excellence and efficiency, and they were with me hand in hand, walking side by side with every single project. Working with the banks, working with other collaborative partners, they have literally been there with support. They're easy to work with, and each and every one of them have contributed, their staff members have contributed to every project that I have done, building and development. And that's what I'm in charge of. I started 10 years ago trying to save Golden Girl Group Home. I did it because I was with passion for the girls and for the mission of Golden Girl. I'm full of passion, and so is the West Virginia Housing Development Fund. They have truly, truly, truly been great to work with, efficient, and they are on fire with my vision, and they have produced many, many worthy projects. It makes sense to streamline the fund to them. It doesn't make sense to diversify government to where it's not efficient. We want to be efficient, we want to be productive throughout the state of West Virginia, and every single one of my projects were efficient and worthy because of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Next, we'll have Dave Clark, followed by Dale Oxley. Good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, my name is Dave Clark. I'm the Executive Director of Woodlands Development Group. We're a nonprofit community development organization based in Elkins. I serve Randolph, Barber, and Tucker counties. We're primarily a nonprofit real estate developer, and we also do small business lending and development. I can certainly understand that from a 40,000-foot view, it looks like there's some redundancy in services between the Housing Trust Fund and the Housing Development Fund. But I can tell you on the ground that these are 2 very different organizations with very different tools available to us. Over the last few years, I've used trust fund dollars to acquire a vacant lot for a senior housing project. I've used it to acquire and demolish a vacant 3-story downtown building in Thomas to make way for some workforce housing that's desperately needed. I've also used it to buy up and renovate some older homes in down and out neighborhoods in Philippi and in Elkins. With this This little bit of funding that comes in from the trust fund, I'm able to leverage that with private financing at a 3-to-1 ratio or more. And I think that's key for me, is the fact that I can use the trust fund dollars to bring in private financing. And that comes primarily from our community banks, from our economic development authorities, and other local groups. The West Virginia Housing Development Fund is also a good partner, and I in no way want to disparage what they're doing, but I will say they're an extremely conservative and risk-averse organization. I have several housing development fund projects in our portfolio as well, and there are no private dollars in any of those projects, none at all. Our projects increasingly, with the cuts in federal funding we've seen over the years, increasingly require innovative and creative financing, and that's what the Housing Trust Fund brings to the table. I should also say that I'm on the board of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and I know from that perspective that it operates on a shoestring budget. There's no cost savings to be had here. The program still has to be administered. It's one staff and some contract services. There's no cost savings to be had. So the trust fund, it is working. It costs pennies on the dollar to operate, and it's leveraging private investment into housing projects. I can just tell you, as a developer working on workforce housing development, senior housing development, there are very few tools to work with in West Virginia. We just don't have the tools that they have available in other states. The Housing Trust Fund is working. So from that perspective, to me, it simply makes no sense to eliminate one of the tools that is providing us with creative and flexible financing. So I would encourage you to vote against this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Dale Oxley, followed by John David.
Thank you, Speaker. I actually kind of hope to go last due to the fact that, much like everyone else in this room, I'm still gathering a lot of information. I do sit on the Housing Trust Fund board, and I would ask everyone in this room to really look at the policies that affect housing in general. I'm still not to the point where I can speak one way or the other. I think if we're only looking at it as a fiscal unit, and the Housing Fund can do this at that level and not affect housing, then maybe it's a no-brainer. But if the dollars don't make a lot of sense with regards on how much we're going to save, and as some would say that it actually greases the wheel for private industry, you'd need to look at that. So I thank you for letting me only maybe muddy the waters, because I'm still trying to put a good idea with this, but I think there are options that you wouldn't have to necessarily look at just either or. I think that having the current board set as an advisory board might be a good idea, but at the same time, I don't want to throw any idea out, and at this point in time, I don't know that anyone has even looked at the pros and cons on paper. So I ask everyone that's involved to basically look out for housing. I am the president of the Home Builders Association, so I'm looking at housing in general, not just as a nonprofit. I think that our role here today is to look out for housing in general, and I think that if that can be done with the current or with a change, that would be the way to go. So thank you.
Thank you. John David.
Good morning. I'm John David, director of the Southern Appalachian Labor School.
Excuse me, if you can
Calm down.
yes, not so much direct into the mic, please.
I'm
Thank
used
you.
to these mics being really, really, really direct. So, okay.
Thank you.
Does that work, folks? Thank you. I'm John David, director of Southern Appalachian Labor School, professor, former emeritus, 40 years department chair, WVU Tech. I just want to say this, that West Virginia, as you probably know, leads the nation in home ownership. Unfortunately, many, if not most, of the homes are not habitable. We're dealing with that in southern coalfields of houses that are in terrible condition. We need flexibility. We need creativity. We need the ability to have a couple of pipelines that we can rely on for doing what needs to be done to provide West Virginians with a habitable, decent, safe home. And that means repairs, that means rehabilitating homes, that means constructing new homes under innovative circumstances and conditions. I know that the West Virginia Housing Development Fund does good things. We work with them too. The West Virginia Affordable Housing Trust Fund also, though, does great things for us. And I know that when this entity, the West Virginia Affordable Housing Trust Fund, was created, I know the former director of the Housing Fund, Joe Hatfield, was very instrumental in making sure that this entity had its own separate existence. We leverage like crazy. We are Youth Build. We use NIP tax credits. We work with all kinds of organizations that have to be combined together in very creative and innovative ways. I want to also note that this is really not a taxpayer entity. This is funded by a $2.20 per $1,000 transfer fee on the sale of property and has no, you might say, tax or public dollars involved. I don't understand personally how there is a fiscal note when in fact state monies from the budget are not involved. So I really think that there is some confusion here in that we're talking about saving money. The money is coming from the transfer and sale of property. And that is basically a very important, I think, note to make. We feel that the West Virginia Housing Fund is good. We feel that the West Virginia Affordable Housing Trust Fund is necessary. We need various pipelines. We need creativity, as I said, and I thank you very much. I'm opposed. I hope that we can continue to be and work together with both entities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I failed to say who was next, but it was Lauren Allen. And then we'll be followed by, is it Karen Jordan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Lauren Allen. I'm General Counsel and Director of Government Relations for the West Virginia Bankers Association. I came today to relay the support of the banking industry for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund and its important goals of ensuring much-needed capital for safe, efficient, and affordable housing for West Virginia's low and moderate income families. Since its inception, the banking industry has had a representative on the Affordable Housing Trust Fund's Board of Trustees, and as an industry, banks have and will continue to commit valuable time, talent, and resources in support of the fund's important mission. Our industry remains committed to encouraging strong partnerships and effective collaboration with community-based nonprofit organizations to make affordable housing available across our state. The banking industry also supports Governor Justice's goal of increasing efficiency in government through the consolidation of human capital and administrative resources to more effectively carry out vital government initiatives like the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. The West Virginia Housing Development Fund has always provided effective and reliable administrative support for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Our industry is confident that the Housing Development Fund will continue to preserve and protect this tool and the original goals of the fund, as well as the integrity of the funding and distribution mechanisms that are so vital to its success. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to this bill, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So next we have Karen Jordan. Excuse me? Oh, Jacobson. Oh, okay. Karen Jacobson, and followed by Erica Bogus.
Hi, thank you. I'm Karen Jacobson. I'm the director of the Randolph County Housing Authority. I was also appointed by the governor to serve on the West Virginia Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board in July and was nominated to be its chair. So I'm speaking to you with both of those hats on today. And I'm here to make essentially 3 points: that the trust fund isn't just any board, that the bill won't save taxpayer money, and that it's a financing tool that's critical now more than ever because it's unique, flexible, and allows innovation. So we understand that the governor wants to streamline boards in our state and have more efficient government, but this trust fund board isn't just any board. It doesn't spend tax dollars from the state budget. It doesn't compensate or reimburse its board members, and it provides mighty impact with a tiny budget. Last year, it delivered $913,000 to 19 nonprofits and municipalities to create or save 250 units of affordable housing, and all with an admin budget of less than $150,000. It's a lean, mean machine, and I challenge you to find any other board or state entity that does the same kind of work with the same efficiency. As you've heard, it leverages $3 to every $1 of trust fund invested, and it doesn't overlap or duplicate with any other agency. The bill won't save taxpayer money because it is funded by this transfer fee. So if there are savings that are to accrue if it's swallowed into the Housing Finance Agency, there won't be dollars that end up going back through the real estate transfer back to the taxpayer. What will happen to these savings? We'll have to wonder, but the taxpayer certainly will not benefit. The trust fund, as you've heard, it's a financing tool that's unique, flexible, responsive. Right now it offers 4 kinds of loans for acquisition and demolition, pre-development, construction financing, and gap financing for homeownership, and 2 grants for homeownership counseling and for technical assistance. Those grants go to nonprofits and municipalities that are trying to think of innovative ways to solve problems. We need on the other hand, the Housing Finance Agency, which is an amazing partner and an amazing resource for our state, its core housing program is its bond mortgage program. It's more than 70% of its $925 million asset base. We need both the trust fund and the Housing Finance Agency. We don't have just one-size-fits-all bank in our state. I mean, we want citizens and businesses to be able to access the right kind of financing for the right kind of need. In our locality, we have one local bank that focuses on construction financing. We have a bank that does a lot of first-time homebuyer work. We have a bank that works with some of the larger organizations. We have one that focuses on trust work. You know, why do we want a one-size-fits-all for the affordable housing needs in our state, which we know are really diverse? We have a really diverse state. I think we also need innovation now, not business as usual. The Housing Finance Agency has stated it will save money in part by making the Housing Trust Fund into a program buried in their multifamily division with a lower level staff person assigned to it. I would say that this is not what the response that we need with the housing resources that we have to meet the needs in our state. In Randolph County, in Delegate Hartman's district, the Housing Authority used a small trust fund grant, a TA grant, to launch a senior service-enriched housing model. That grant was $28,000. The people we're helping are seniors that don't have family or enough family to help them with their health problems, to avoid having to live the end of their life in a nursing home and to enable them to live gracefully at home. We've helped residents save costly trips to the ER. In fact, a snapshot shows we're about 50% less often for our seniors to go to the ER than a similar group not living in our rental units. This program with $28,000 went on to attract 5 private funders, create 2.5 jobs, and now serve 7 elderly rental buildings in 2 counties. And it's being replicated in a 3rd county. And it helped define what is now a statewide program searching for model senior living communities. That's a lot of impact for a $28,000 technical assistance grant. In closing, I would just say the trust fund is not your average state board. This bill will not save taxpayer money, and we need both the strength of our Housing Finance Agency and the flexibility and responsiveness of our Housing Trust Fund. Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect timing. Last on our agenda is Erica Bogus. Is there anyone else that has walked in? Okay.
Thank you. I'm Erica Bogus. I'm the Executive Director of the West Virginia Housing Development Fund, and I am also a board member of the West Virginia Affordable Housing Trust Fund. I have a long history with both organizations. I've been with the Housing Fund for 31 years and have worked in various capacities with the Trust Fund since its inception in around 2001. And I think the important thing that I want to make today is this legislation in no way alleviates the Affordable Housing Trust Fund resources, nor does it change how those funds are to be expended to help our nonprofits provide the affordable housing. Much of the stuff that Karen talked about will continue. Nothing in the legislation prohibits that. Also, the Housing Development Fund, she talked about our big bond program, and that's true. But we're not a one-size-fits-all organization. We operate numerous programs to fill numerous housing needs. We have rental rehab programs. We have a program very similar to the Affordable Housing Trust Program called the Special Assistance Program that does group homes, home rehab. John David talked about work camps that come in and do rehabs to houses. We have funded those kinds of projects. So we have a very similar mission, and in no way would this legislation hurt the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. In fact, we feel that that's an incredibly important piece of the housing puzzle in this state and would hope that it would thrive. The Housing Development Fund has 103 people on staff with expertise in underwriting, construction financing, accounting, financing options, all of those resources which can be used and will be used to support the efforts of the Affordable Housing Trust and the work that that trust fund does. We also leverage money with banks, other housing organizations, both federal, local, nonprofits. We do have leveraging options with some of our things. We have a history of working with these nonprofits that work with the Affordable Housing Trust are our customers too. And we know that they are the boots on the ground that make this stuff work. So they are important to us. In last year's activity, we did $120 million worth of activity in the past year for housing in the state of West Virginia, and that's what we will continue to do. The trust fund will get its due attention and get the support of the full Housing Development Fund. As far as the fiscal savings, neither organization is dependent on state appropriations for its operations. The trust fund does receive some admin dollars, and the fiscal note reports that there is a small savings that can be achieved through just streamlining and utilizing the Housing Development Fund staff and not outside contractors for things such as audit and legal. So there is a minor savings of funds that would be further available to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund pool of money through that savings. So again, I think I want to emphasize the fact that this legislation does streamline government. It does eliminate some duplication where you have two very similar housing organizations doing the same work. But it does preserve the resource for the nonprofit housing community just as it does today. And it should be transparent to them. And as we've always worked with our nonprofits, we all need to talk to them about how, what do they need? What's its supply? So I am in support of the bill. I think it provides for efficiencies of government, yet still fulfills the purpose that the Affordable Housing Trust was created for. Thank you.
Thank you. Last call on anybody that may have stepped in. Well, this shall conclude our public hearing on House Bill 4140. We're adjourned or finished. Thank you.